What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast. And today's a very special episode, Tim, because we're here
It's a special episode.
It's a special episode. We're here to talk about everything and anything DC Fandome.
And Arris came ready.
I did
with his attire.
I am a billboard. I'm a billboard for them right now, and I am happy about it because I am excited.
Yeah, it was a full day as expected. And we are going to do this in two segments, actually.
Yes.
We're going to break this into two pieces because there is so much to talk about. And one of the first things and the biggest thing, obviously, was the headliner of the day, the Batman. What everybody was waiting to see. It closed the show out for a reason.
2 years in a row.
Yep, that's what everybody was looking for. So we're going to talk everything, the major Batman news first. We're going to get to all that. So we'll talk the Batman. We're going to talk about the Flash, Michael Keaton's first appearance there. Well, if sort of, kind of. And we're going to talk Batman, the Cape Crusader.
But Tim,
it's freaking sweet.
Batman, the Cape Crusader. Okay, the Batman obviously stole the show, but I mean, we'll get into it. Everyone knows Batman animated, Tim. I'm going to cry.
That was a big one.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I've got some stuff to say about that one, actually. But we'll get through these three pieces, and then, so you guys are going to see the Batman stuff first, and then we will have the full episode around everything else Fandome related in probably the day after. So whatever you're seeing this first initial opening, you will see the rest of Fandome, the Fandome discussion tomorrow.
It's the Black Adam, talk.
Yeah, Shazam, all
Aquaman,
the video games, so on.
Yeah. But let's get. You're wearing the shirt for people who are watching it and not listening. You're wearing the Batman shirt.
Yeah.
So the Batman, Tim.
Batman, man.
The Batman. Everyone knows I am possibly one of the biggest Batman fans in the world. Right. I am all about the Batman.
You are definitely a very big Batman.
I am all about.
I don't know
if
you're the biggest.
I said one of. Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to do that.
You would go into the higher tier.
The higher. Man, Tim, this trailer is insane. The first thing I want to say is it has so many Arkham vibes to it.
Yeah.
The Arkham, universe, the game, which is what so many people, myself included, have wanted. The fact that the architecture, the way he's fighting, like even the way you see him fighting at the beginning of this trailer is like, oh, so Arkham. Like clearly Matt Reeves and everyone involved with creating this, all the producers, writers are like, oh, so Batman, Arkham Asylum, City, all that stuff, easily one of the best things to be done within the Batman franchise. So let's borrow from that. Obviously, it has the noir, Batman animated vibes, even the color palette at times with the red and black.
For sure.
But it also kind of has Nolan vibes too, right? Especially with the orange and black color tone, which is very reminiscent to Batman Begins, that kind of palette, even with the realism where at the end of the trailer, you see Batman jumping off the building and flying like he did in the Nolan trilogy as well. But it's this amalgamation of like, oh, the Nolan stuff was great. The Arkhamverse stuff is great. The BTAS stuff is great. Batman animated. Let's just do all that and make this hybrid hodgepodge of the best Batman stuff, the best Batman things ever.
Yeah. To make
possibly or hopefully one of the best Batman films ever.
I would say that's a fair assessment.
And Matt Reeves, hearing him even talk to Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson before they showed us a trailer, you could just really tell they were like, okay, the only way we're going to do this is if we bring something new, different, but also the same in the sense where like a different take on Batman, which is, we've talked about this, a lot of other people talked about this, where this is a very detective-driven Batman noir. You've said it before, it's like Seven meets Batman, which clearly this trailer even pushes further again. I could keep ranting on this forever. I'm gonna try to bullet point it because a little bit. So I'll hit Batman.
He's so excited.
I'm so excited. We'll hit Batman, Riddler, Penguin, and Catwoman. Pattinson, obviously. Is it me or is this? He's just like angry. This is a Batman who's very much fresh and he's still very pissed off that his parents died. Right. Just that's crying like he's very like he hasn't. I guess the best way to say it is he's not in his groove yet, right? He's just really angry and out to get criminals. He hasn't found like his groove, I guess. He's kind of figuring things out, and he's just very, very mad. It's just so aggressive. That's the only thing I can really say. And it's just great where you just see he's out to like stop everyone. And it's a very different take psychologically for Batman, I think, where they're really going to get into his mindset of why he does what he does and how he feels about it and stuff. Alfred looks great. Andy Serkis, you see he's going to be that very much Earth 1 Jeff Johns Batman, where he looks like a badass. He's not like that fragile Alfred. In that he's loving, but he still looks like he can kick some butt. The Riddler. I've said it forever. The Paul Dano as the Riddler is probably going to be the breakout of this movie, I think. I feel like he's going to be the sleeper in the sense where, like, in this trailer, we didn't see too much of him, but the little things we heard of him, we saw, it's like, oh, I think you're holding off on him for a reason.
Exactly.
Like, I think this is going to be a big surprise in the movie. Everyone knows by now that Pattinson looks great as Batman, aggressive, just all around good. But Paul Dano, I think, is going to be like the big takeaway. Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Dude, is that even Colin Farrell?
It's unreal.
Like,
it's unreal.
Like in the trailer, it's like, oh, calm down, sweetheart, or easy, sweetheart. Like, just all that stuff. I got you at the end of the trailer.
My favorite line,
dude,
from him is where he goes, "You're everything they said you are, aren't they?"
Yeah,
aren't you?
It's that old, like, Italian mobster. Like, it's just so nostalgic and, like, the generic but great at the same time. It's what you would want from the Penguin. Zoe Kravitz is Selena Kyle, Catwoman. I thought that was great because even in the trailer, you see she's a true cat burglar in the sense where, like, she's constantly wearing different outfits, disguises, different wigs. The relationship with Batman seems really cool. It almost seems like they're kind of learning a little bit from Tom King.
I was about to say some Tom King in there, I think.
Pattinson actually said when in an interview, Fandom during this weekend, that he was reading a lot of Batman stuff, and he literally said, I read some of the newer Tom King stuff. So Tom King is thrilled about that. He posted that on social. Yeah, obviously. But I mean, we could dissect this forever, but I don't want to take up all the time. I want you to talk about it too. I want to just keep rambling out that you talk. In summary, I loved it. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be one of the best Batman films we've ever gotten, potentially the best Batman film we've ever have gotten thus far. Yeah. And everything about it is just yes. The cinematography, everything, yes, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, this trailer, because we were all heavily anticipating this one, right? Like we said, right from the outset of the show, this is what everybody was waiting for. And I was genuinely curious to going in. As much as I was excited and stoked, whenever anything is amped up this much, right? And there's so much anticipation, a lot of times it's a letdown because it's very hard to meet expectations that the fans set for themselves a lot of times. And that's not fair, right? That's not fair to the filmmakers. It's not fair to the creators, the artists, the actors, and so forth. But, that is kind of the nature of the beast. And I was very curious going into Fandome if the Batman trailer was going to meet expectations.
Yeah.
And for me, not only did it meet expectations, it pushed the envelope a little bit. There was one moment in the trailer that I was like,
we agree on this.
And we talked about it just before we started. It's where, Pattinson Batman hits the glass with his elbow real fast and yells, "What did you do to the Riddler?" Who you don't see much of.
You only see him in the opening scene of the trailer.
They're holding him back. I agree completely with
They don't even show his face.
No, they never show his face. They just show the mask portion. Even in that one poster that we got just before Fandome.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
I wonder if he's disfigured.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. There's definitely a reason for that. But the entire tone of this trailer it just took everything that the tone, as far as the tone that they set, both in last year's original trailer and then the teaser leading up to, it's not just a signal, it's a warning. Everything as far as tonally that they set, and it just really it told us, the fans, there's a lot more coming.
Yes.
There's a lot that we didn't show you. There's a lot we're not going to show you yet. That sort of thing. Because remember, we're getting closer and closer to this thing coming out. It's in March.
Yep.
So we're creeping closer and closer to the release of this thing. But just like you said, as far as Pattinson's Batman, we talked about it after in our reaction to that very quick 6-second teaser. It's not just a signal; it's a warning that this Batman, very similar to what Bruce Timm always says from Batman the Animated Series, which is Bruce is the mask, right? Batman is who he is.
Yes.
Right? And I think this movie is going to really explore that aspect of Batman as a character for the first time live action in a way that the other movies have not. This is really going to show that rage-driven young Bruce Wayne, where the real Bruce Wayne is Batman. The Bruce Wayne that everyone sees in public is a mask. And the rage, that beast that he's yet to really figure out how to calm and to really deal with his demons. He hasn't gone through a lot of the experience and the life, taken the beatings and dealt with enough of his issues to be able to not just lash out. And you see him in this trailer on several occasions already kind of lashing out or wanting to lash out and just
it seems a little
very angry,
unhinged a little bit.
Yeah, and but it makes for such a compelling look at what this character is going to be in the first film. So now you've got this Riddler character that they're just really still teasing us with, which I absolutely freaking love. You have that one shot, that overhead shot where it looks down on Bruce Wayne in the cave, or what I assume would be his bat cave, and he's got all the stuff drawn on the ground, and he's just going through these riddles that are compiling, and these different, case clues that are compiling, and for me, it even more solidified that whole, like, this is very like Seven. There's the amount of vibes, David Fincher 7 vibes I was getting from this, it just went up a notch. It just feels very much, especially with what they're doing with the Riddler. It just feels like that very lurking danger that is almost serial killer-esque. That is, we have to find this guy. We have to figure this out before he does any more harm. That, I love that stuff.
Well, Bruce literally says it in the trailer. He says that Riddler's the match.
Yes.
To, like, I guess the bomb that's going to go off. Yeah.
Well, I think it wasn't that Jeffrey. I thought it was Jeffrey Wright saying it.
Was it Jeffrey Wright?
I thought it was.
I thought it was Pattinson saying it. I thought it was
We have
Bruce.
to go back and see that. I thought it was Jeffrey Wright, Jim Gordon, who also looks amazing.
Yeah, him, yep.
But and just kind of going down the list like you did, Batman, the Riddler, Catwoman, Zoe Kravitz looks amazing as Catwoman. I was loving the Tom King Batman Catwoman relationship vibes. I mean, Batman and Catwoman have had relationships,
but even
the
shots they chose, like,
exactly,
they're picking like that Clayman type like panels from
I really loved how that because that definitely stood out. I thought, but the most transformative thing is the Penguin, Colin Farrell. I have never seen anything like that. Have you?
It's crazy. Last year when we got the first teaser, I remember being like, wait, that, because people were online were saying that's Colin Farrell. I'm like, what? He was in the trailer? They're like, yeah. And then you go and you search and they're like, this is him. We're like, what the?
Yeah,
that's
Colin Farrell.
Is nuts.
But now, having seen him actually do some very brief performance moments. Yeah. The whole, like you said, the whole thing, take it easy, sweetheart.
So good.
And then, the part where he's driving in the car. I got you.
Yeah,
that whole good. Thing. I don't know. I've been racking my brain trying to think of a instance where an actor was transformed into something else so convincingly to where you cannot tell that it is that actor at all.
It makes sense to why they're in early stages or it's in development, an HBO Max Penguin TV series. So you're like, oh, this is clearly a character that's going to resonate and people are going to want to see more of. Because Colin Farrell said in an interview out of his own lips, he's only in like 10, 15 minutes of the film.
Right.
So we know he doesn't even have that big part of, a performance in the film. So they're like, oh no, we need more of this. Hence the show that's in development.
My hope is that it's because this is part of this much broader story and they're going to be building this out that Penguin will ultimately play a much bigger role in.
Yeah.
Right. But definitely, they obviously cast him very, very well.
It's crazy.
Because when we first found out that Colin Farrell was going to play the Penguin, we were all like, what? How's that going to work?
We forgot about movie magic.
Dude, I have that one really continues to blow my mind is what they've done with Colin Farrell and Colin Farrell's performance as the character.
I think I've said it before, like, it's one thing to, like, do, like, really cool Killer Croc makeup or something like that, where you're, like, an alien or a monster or something like that.
And a hybrid of CGI.
And stuff like that, but this is, like, this is human makeup. They just made him look like an older, overweight dude.
Yeah.
It just looks like another person, where it's, like, it's easier to do the stuff that's, like, fantastical, because it's, like, no one really knows what a humanoid crocodile would look like, so you can get away with it a little bit, because it's fantastical. But to just make it an older, heavy-set dude, like, that's hard, because our eyes know what to look for as far as what a real human's supposed to look like.
Exactly.
So it's like, to get that right is crazy. And
it's such I think, an incredible demonstration of how far practical makeup has come.
For sure.
I mean, these artists that do this work, they're incredible. I've worked with a number of them, and they are artists, like true artists. This work that they do is amazing. It's incredible. But you know, you look back to, like, let's say the 80s. We'll just use that as an example. And some of the stuff like from Goonies and you know what I mean? And to now what they're capable of doing, even in a practical sense, not just through computer visual effects. It's really incredible. This is one of the most glaring, like, holy crap, that's unbelievable. You can't, first of all, you could easily convince, if someone didn't know, you could easily convince a person that that was just an unknown actor.
Yeah.
That was cast for
the only way you could tell is if someone told you it's Colin Farrell, and then you really look at his eyes, you're like, oh, it is Colin Farrell, but you have to, like, really pay attention.
Yeah, you have to first know, and then you got to be looking for it.
You're like, that is his eyes.
It's incredibly impressive, but just every single character stood out in their own way. Every element of the trailer told you that much more what we have to expect. And for me, the expectation is not just as high, it's even higher now. For sure.
Now, before we move on, I want to talk about favorite scenes in the trailer.
Okay,
there's a lot. So I believe in the first teaser, I think most people would agree, when Batman's literally doing the beatdown on that thug in the alley, which this trailer pretty much opens up with. It's like a larger portion of that scene. That's probably like the favorite scene for most people of the first teaser, right? This one, so I feel like there's like two real big contenders, right? There's the end shot with the Batmobile and the flames in the cape. But then for me, as far as just badass moments, there's the dark tunnel scene with the machine guns where these thugs are just mowing Batman down. But he's literally walking toward, like he's the Man of Steel, bro. Like he's Superman. Like the fact that they made his armor, like, oh, it doesn't stop bullets. It literally makes him impervious, where he can just keep slow walk towards you like nothing. And then when he grabs you, he's going to take you and choke slam you to the ground. That, because that just showed, oh, this is why they think he's an urban legend. They're like, that guy's real? He's a real thing? Like that moment right there made it like, that's why people think this dude's fake. Because he's like this bat-like dude who's literally walking towards multiple guys who are shooting him with assault rifles. Like
with automatic firearms.
It's like he's a god, just bounce, like full on Black Adam Superman. They're just bouncing off of him because of the armor he's developed. That right there, I'm like, oh, so this again, this is a very like driven, like, no, I'm gonna get you, Batman.
The only thing I didn't like, and this is just my analytical mind, this is the only thing I didn't like about that is like, guys, he can still get shot in the face.
Well, yeah.
Like they're firing at him point blank range with automatic rifles, and he's just like walking at. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I want to be very clear. That was one of the coolest parts of the trailer. I agree with everything you said. It's just my brain won't let me get past that. But he can get shot like in the whole face.
It's open,
like, it's open.
But that's like you have to suspend, the disbelief there or whatever for a second. So yeah, that just because also I actually brought that up when Matt Reeves was cast. I'm like, remember in that Planet of the Apes film when Caesar is in the cave and he's getting shot with guns and stuff like that, and it's the same type of thing where the muzzle flashes is what's lighting up the cave, so it's like flashing like in and out like strobe lights. I said, I'm like, dude, that is so Batman, and that's
freaking true. Reeves. I remember you saying that.
And Reeves literally is recreating that same shot pretty much with Batman because it is so Batman.
Maybe that was his audition for Batman.
So that was my personal favorite one because I'm just like, oh yeah, this is just a tough like, again, I think the perfect thing describes it is like that's why the thugs in this world are like, that dude's real. Like it just shows this is why he strikes fear into the underworld of Gotham, because it's like they think of him as this mythical beast. Is like, that guy can't be human. Like Penguin even says it in the freaking trailer. He's like, what? This is a real thing? So yes, but I could easily see why someone might pick the other one. But what was your favorite scene in the trailer?
My favorite scene is going to be different, although all of those scenes, it's very, very difficult to choose because there were so many. There's only that one small moment where it kind of took me out of it just for a half second, where he hits the glass. I just thought that was it felt a little bit Christian Bale Batman.
I agree with you on that.
Just a touch.
It pulled me out a bit.
But it wasn't nearly enough for me to just not watch the trailer like 17 times in a row.
Context could also be something in that too. Where within the scene, it might play better.
Yeah. My favorite part was the open of the trailer. where you
Batman with the thugs?
where you see the Riddler.
Oh, really?
In the
I
diner.
did not think
And
that would be your favorite
cops
part.
coming up and him just sitting at the diner, and then it cuts to that. It kind of goes right over top that tight shot of the glass, and it's the question mark.
Yeah.
That I love that because Riddler is arguably my favorite Batman villain
because he's an intellectual Batman villain.
Yeah, I just
uses his brain. Yes,
I love that character, and I have wanted them to do him right and well for a very long time.
Jim Carrey, bro.
I will say nothing about that. But I've been waiting for someone to do a live action version of that character that was similar to what we grew up watching in Batman the Animated Series. Thus, this very smart, almost gangster-like adversary that Batman, because Batman is a genius. I mean, he's one of the smarter, characters in the entire DC universe. And he is constantly, that's what makes him so dangerous to Batman, is his intellect and his ability to deceive and manipulate and trick and all that kind of stuff. And this, while it's not the same as what they did with Batman the Animated Series, obviously, or at least it doesn't appear even close, I absolutely freaking love that they made this almost like this serial killer, this very smart but clearly deranged person who is just out to make a point and is going to just lead Batman down this rabbit trail. Because I guess this is the other part of it that I really like. I love that they're making it to where the Riddler clearly knows that Batman, Bruce Wayne, I don't know that he knows that he's Bruce Wayne. I don't think so, but that Batman is a loose cannon. He's a little bit of loose cannon, and he can draw him out.
Yes.
That's the way it's coming off.
For sure.
That he's going to exploit that anger, that rage, and use it against him. I love that freaking idea. Love that.
Yeah.
Right? So that opening sequence where the cops are kind of slowly converging on this little diner, and it's just the Riddler alone at this diner bar, drawing a question mark in his coffee, clearly knowing and wanting to be caught.
That's the thing I was going to say, because you even later on in the trailer, you see him in, I would imagine, Arkham or something like that, where it's like, it's part of his plan to get caught.
Yeah, and he says, I've been trying to reach you.
Right.
And I just love that. So that scene.
His voice, though, too.
Yeah.
The way Paul Dano was
like,
I've been trying to, I'm going to do a horrible impersonation, but like,
I want to know if that's purely him or if they have altered his voice.
I don't know. I mean, because even in the first teaser, I think is probably less alternate because it's like, please do not lie. If you are justice, that whole thing. So that, I don't know, maybe. I want to believe that no, though, because Paul Dano, we know, is a fantastic actor.
He is, yeah.
He's very transformative. So I think that is totally plausible for that to just be him.
If that's his voice alone,
it's just that much more of a tip of the hat, right? It's like, good on you, bro.
But also, I'm kind of like, Paul Dano, you're one creepy freaking guy, dude. All right.
But I've seen, obviously, after this, I was like, it makes me interested in seeing what are these people like in real life? Just normal interviews, like on late night shows and stuff. Like, he seems so nice.
I know.
He seems so nice.
Yeah. I mean, you have to it's all in the best way possible. I mean it as the greatest compliment in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker sense.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Where, it has elements. Yeah. It has elements of that. Like, can you do that without having something, similar to his performance in Prisoners? It's like, how do you do that without having something inside you that you're drawing from? Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Some darkness in there.
Yeah. But that, I think, was my favorite part of the trailer that I just kept kind of rewatching because I feel like it really does a good job of telling you the type of villain Batman's going to be up against here.
For sure.
Which I just freaking love that.
I thought you were totally going to go to my second favorite shot was the ending scene with the Penguin. That whole thing.
That would be my second.
Because then even like... the Batmobile obviously comes out of the flames. He freaking hits the back of the car, flips it over, and then you see Penguin's point of view of Dude, that is the most Batman animated series thing ever, too. Or even Arkham, from the Arkham games, where there's fire in the background. It's raining. You see the silhouette of Batman walking with the cape fluttering. Oh, dude, I would even say that based on this trailer alone, it's giving me more Arkham vibes than even Batman animated vibes, just purely on the look and feel of it, in the sense of like the architecture of Gotham, like the cinematography, like the way the bat symbols in the sky, like, and I'm all about that. And definitely the fighting, where because in the Arkham games, one of the biggest parts is Batman is always fighting like 10 thugs at a time.
Yeah.
And you see that in one of the opening shots. I believe it's the second or third shot of this trailer, where he's fighting all those thugs from the first teaser. And it's just like, yes, when he gets shot to him in the shoulder, and he just goes like, that
was in the first trailer.
When he got shot and he just deflected.
Was that
in
the first trailer? Yeah.
I didn't see that. I don't remember that first trailer. But anyway.
At least I think it was.
Whatever.
Don't quote me.
In this one where they shoot him and he just kind of like, really, bro? And again, he just keeps going after him. It's like, that's not a thing. You ain't going to stop me with a gun.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, just that end shot is my second favorite. So you're not wrong entirely.
Yeah.
That end shot was my second favorite one, where I was just like, dude, because of the penguin.
Yeah.
But also, it says a lot about Batman in this film.
Yes.
Where he just comes flying out of the flames just like a loose freaking kid. Just like a psychopath.
Yes.
It's like in the first trailer where you see the penguin say, this guy's nuts.
And I love how the Batmobile is like a full-on muscle car. But in this trailer, it's like also kind of like monster truck-ish.
Yeah.
Where
Fast and the Furious meets Batman.
Yeah, dude, so cool. The last thing I will say, though, I keep talking about it forever, is the bit where it's like a second scene where you see Batman coming down, like with an explosion just launching straight down, like again in the Arkhamverse, Batman does from the rafters. That's one of the stealth things he does, where he'll come and like foot stomp you into the ground. Very, very cool. But it's also kind of reminiscent of like Keaton and stuff like that, where he breaks through the glass and all that stuff.
And I agree with you. What you said right at the beginning is that this feels very much like Matt Reeves is paying tribute to all the different Batman character or versions of Batman that we've seen live action over the years.
Pulling a little bit
even Batman the Animated Series and some other things. Yeah. And he's pulling just the best, or trying to pull the best pieces of each and kind of inserting and embedding them in there, which I just think is genius. And before I forget, and we wrap this up, the one thing I cannot forget to mention is Andy Serkis as Alfred. Absolutely freaking amazing.
Do you like Andy Serkis, Tim?
Dude, okay. I will say I am biased. I love Andy Serkis.
No, he looks great.
One day, Andy, I want to work with you, man. One day, we're going to figure something out. I want to do it. Absolutely, unbelievably amazing. He looks as Alfred. I was like, Michael Caine was tremendous as Alfred.
Yes.
Jeremy Irons, amazing as Alfred.
But very different Alfred.
Yes. This is the Alfred that I've been wanting to see them do, where it looks like he could take some people on by himself.
Yes.
Right?
It's the Earth 1 Alfred.
Yes. It is. I love it. I love it. I love it.
You know what's crazy too? It's like you have the Michael Caine Alfred, right? Which is the more like loving grandfather, nurturing Alfred.
Yep.
You have the Jeremy Irons, who's kind of in the middle, where very nurturing, but he's also kind of like, they've hinted to his past and stuff like that, where he's like, come on, Bruce. Like, he's in the middle. And then you have Andy Serkis Alfred, where it's just like, oh, you were like ex-British military. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I cannot wait to see if that's kind of the Alfred that they unveil here.
I hope so.
Where this is ex-British
Because he's
military.
younger than both Jeremy Irons and Michael Caine,
and
too.
he looks still kind of like he's got some stock to him.
I totally see him getting like a cane or like a sword or something. There's someone's trying to intrude the Batcave and just whacking someone.
That scene where it cuts to him and he's watching something on the television and he just whispers, "My God."
Yeah.
I was like, God, Alfred, you're gonna be great. Very excited for that.
The final thing I will say, because again we have to move on, like you said, is the one thing I picked up is the psychology of Batman, in the sense where I love how Matt Reeves is taking, because in this trailer twice, you see towards the beginning, Batman gets shot with a gun, deflected.
Yeah,
Then the machine gun's deflected.
Yep.
I love how, like, I have to imagine that's on purpose, in the sense that Batman only became Batman because his parents were killed with guns. Batman hates guns. That's part of one of the biggest things of his mythos. He hates guns, or he refuses to use them, right? But they're like flipping that, where Bruce is like, the one thing that literally changed my life forever will never hurt me again.
Yeah.
And now every time he gets shot or something, it's being deflected. So he's made sure that like that's not going to be a thing anymore. And I kind of like that spin on it, where he's like, cool, awesome. That's never going to be a problem for me again.
Which makes that element that we heard when we first saw the bat symbol and the pieces of the bat suit, where they say that the actual symbol is possibly broken and melted down pieces of the gun.
If that turns out to be true, along with everything we've seen with the psychology I just mentioned of like making that thing that change your life never hurt you again, so cool. Or even using it as your symbol now to be like, this is what's driving me. So cool.
Honestly, every single element of this trailer and this movie looks fantastic. I can't wait. And again, I don't want to forget to mention, we all briefly mentioned Jeffrey Wright, as Jim Gordon. I love the look that they gave him.
Looks so cool.
That kind of 80s cop, New York cop.
So cool.
Even
the precinct
so awesome.
for GCPD that he's, dude, the vibe for everything.
And the different pieces that they showed of Jim Gordon, that relationship there, that's going to be a good one too.
Yes.
So, but awesome all the way around.
All the way, yeah. We're both very, very excited. We could probably talk about this for like another 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But Cape Crusader, Tim.
Cape Crusader.
Executive producers, Bruce Timm, co-creator Batman animated series, Matt Reeves, who's helming the new the Batman franchise that we currently just talked about, and J.J. Abrams, blockbuster director extraordinaire, all teaming up to work on a new animated Batman series for Cartoon Network and HBO Max. This is the line, Tim. This is the line.
I know what you're going to say, and I was like, what did you just say?
Because we didn't get any footage. We didn't get any stills. It was literally just J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Bruce Timm talking about it, right? But Bruce Timm said that this show is going to be more Batman the Animated Series than Batman the Animated Series.
I don't know how that works.
It doesn't even make sense. It's kind of like saying I'm going to give it 110%. It's not really a thing, but it's just to get the point across where it's like, this is going to be so Batman the Animated Series, you're going to think it's more Batman the Animated Series than Batman the Animated Series, which that told me everything I need to know. So I'm like, oh, so you're literally, because he says, they all say, but Bruce Timm specifically, because he's the one who worked on BTAS in the early 90s, said this is enabling him to do everything he wasn't allowed to do in the early 90s because of either censorship, because it was, meant for a kid's audience, or just technology in general. So where now he has every toy at his disposal. He can literally do whatever he wants, and he chose to go back to, much like the Batman, which is not surprising because one of the executive producers is Matt Reeves, in time, and do a very early Batman where his villains aren't really established yet. He's still not even friends with Jim Gordon yet, and that way they get to explore everything for the first time. And just the influences he said he was going to have is going to be very noir, very like those old school German influences from that short he did a while ago, that black and white short. I forget the name of it. They showed it during the thing.
I'm trying to remember the name of it as well. I don't remember.
But everyone knows a few years ago, Bruce Timm did an animated black and white short in his style of the Batman animated universe. And that was basically served as like, hey, this is kind of what I want to do, but for a series. And they even mentioned where like J.J. Abrams, I believe, said for this first season, kind of hinting to like, oh, so if well received, you're going to keep going. Like you have intentions to keep going as long as the numbers are there. So everyone knows BTAS is my number one thing. It's what got me into comic books and everything like that. So in a lot of ways, I'm kind of just as or even more excited for this than even like the Batman and stuff, because this is from the creator and style of what got me into comic books.
For sure.
So I cannot wait for this. Everything, again, it was just I'm talking about it, but the way Matt Reeves was saying, when Bruce Timm was talking to me and JJ were talking, we're like, yeah, this I think this is something that'll work. Where they both said they were massive fans of Batman animated series. So clearly Matt Reeves and JJ Abrams are like, even though they're blocks, they're huge directors themselves, they're like, no, we want to work with like one of the best names in animation, Bruce Timm, who's done Tiny Toons, obviously, BTAS, Superman animated series. So to have these three minds, like one of the best directors and creators in animation, team up with two of the best directors in live action film, and to do Batman, I mean, what more would any of us DC or Batman fans want, or what more could we ask for?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most exciting element of that is the part that these are all huge fans of Batman.
For sure.
Right? Teaming up with the guy who brought us, one of the two guys who brought us Batman the Animated Series. Because they're fans of Batman the Animated Series. And it just further confirmation of everything that we've talked about Matt Reeves, him drawing on, Batman the Animated Series for even the Batman and where he's going with that franchise or, that version of Batman. But listening to Bruce Timm talk about some of the animation tests that he put together and presented to JJ in the studio and stuff, and like, hey, this is kind of the idea of what I want to make and that sort of thing. And then them showing pieces of that. And them saying, this is much more Batman Year One, and drawing from some of these, kind of World War II era, that noir, where we saw a lot of that in Batman in the Animated Series. They said they're going to even amp that up even further, which is stupid exciting, amazing.
Can't wait.
I love that style. It's very like, you know, Rocketeer slash Sky Captain. The World of Tomorrow, that's sort of a thing.
I forgot about that movie. Wow.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Deep pull.
But that genre, that kind of Metropolis, you know, style, is just really, really cool. That Art Deco stuff. And mixed with the Batman universe specifically, it just makes it have such a cool vibe. They didn't show us much. They more told us what they were looking to do, but they gave us a lot of like concept art and, you know, different pieces. Everything looked like, dude, is it possible? This is what I was thinking to myself. And I even said, cause my boys were watching it with me. I was just like, is it possible that they could make like a leveled up version of Batman the Animated Series? Is that even possible? I mean, I don't want to be biased, you know, from a nostalgic standpoint, because I grew up with that show. It's universally loved amongst Batman fans. I would say, you know, superhero fans in general. But I'm just like, that show just objectively was so good and so well done. The stories were really smart.
You know, I'm going to agree.
Yeah. But, you know, we've talked about it numerous times. It never condescended to the kids, you know, to us as kids.
Yeah.
It never talked down to us. It gave us, you know, good stories that in many cases were dark.
For sure.
You know, and presented some really, you know, dark or more mature themes and stuff like that. And I think it's one of the reasons why it was so successful. We've said that many times. So my question is now, and I'll preface it also with this, is the one thing I'm hoping is when Bruce Timm said like, oh, now there's no limitation, and, you know, because we're not on this or whatever, I can do whatever I want. You know, the one thing I will say is that feels like that's what everyone is saying now, you know, because of streaming. So my hope is that they don't deviate too far away from the BTAS format. Because I really would love for this to be something that I can watch with my kids. That it's like BTAS, where it's got darker, more mature themes.
Well, they said it's going to air on Cartoon Network.
Right, so, which has me...
So I imagine...
Like saying, like, okay, he's going to go a little bit maybe heavier-handed with the story elements.
Yes.
You know, but it's not going to be like what they've done with, you know, Titans and
yeah, I don't think they'll be like over vulgarity or, you know...
Yeah, like R-rated, that sort of thing. I don't think it's going to be, I hope not, because I would love for me and my kids to be able to sit around, as I think a lot of parents, like, would want to do that. You know, a lot of, you know, that especially those of us that grew up on that. I think it'd just be a very cool thing for those of us who now have kids that are the age we were at when we were watching BTAS for the first time. Be like, hey, make that like a weekly thing to do with your older kids. Anyway, that's a completely side note, but but also kind of important to the overall, which is that I love this notion kind of blows my mind of this idea of like a leveled up BTAS. But then it's also like, can they actually?
I mean, if anyone could do it, it's Bruce Timm. He's the guy who did the first one. So it's like, if anyone's going to do it. Because I got to imagine they're also going to bring like Alan Burnett on to write some episodes and Paul Dini. And they haven't even touched on the voice cast at all. Is it going to be Kevin Conroy Batman? Are we getting Mark Hamill as the Joker?
Can you imagine a world where it's not?
That's what I'm saying. With this, it's like, how do you not? Like everything, you're literally saying you're doing a leveled up BTAS. So how can you not get at least Kevin Conroy as Batman?
I can't. I cannot see a world
Danny
where that
Elfman
happens.
or Shirley Walker score.
Oh, come on. No way. I'm saying there's no way they don't.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like they have to. Because if they're going to stay in the same world, and you know, I'm not even going to stress it. Because this team is too good.
Yes.
They know
what you have to do.
They're real. I mean, obviously Bruce Timm is one of the creators. And these other guys, these are fans of the original stuff. So it's like they're going to come at us with that hard nostalgia pull for sure.
It's one of those things, too, where you have that trinity, right? You have J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Bruce Timm, right?
Some of the heaviest hitters at Warner Brothers.
And two of them, like Bruce Timm, has been working on Batman the longest out of all of them because of, you know, all this Justice League, Superman, series Batman. But then you freaking have the guy who's currently helming the Batman franchise, Matt Reeves. We know he's going to get a trilogy.
Dude.
So working together. Then on top of that, you got J.J. Abrams, who's just one of the best blockbuster directors of the last decade or so. When they go to meetings to like executives and stuff at Warner Brothers, there's no way like they're like, no. With those three coming at you, you have to imagine they were like, whatever you guys want to do.
Well, JJ's in a huge position.
That's
of power
what I'm saying. He's
so,
like one of the heads.
Yeah. So I mean, the reality is they probably have carte blanche.
Yes.
They probably have the ability within budgetary reason to do pretty much anything that they want.
Man, I can't. I mean,
it's
Bruce Timm. I want it. I want it.
I honestly, it really is blowing my mind that we're going to get a modern prequel to Batman the Animated Series. Like, that blows my mind.
It's weird. That's the last thing I was going to bring up. Is it because the way they were talking about it, it seems, especially when Bruce Timm was breaking down the villains, he was saying like, we get to do like kind of new takes on the villains, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's necessarily, it doesn't seem like it's attached to the BTAS universe. It doesn't seem like a direct prequel. They were talking about it very loosely.
Maybe not. That's true.
Where it's in that universe, but it's not necessarily like, again, an exact prequel. Like, we're literally just going to go back in that timeline and tell you how we got there. And then the season, it'll end with the beginning of BTAS. I don't think it's going to be attached.
We definitely did not get confirmation of that at all. Yeah. So let me not be presumptive. But it certainly feels like it could.
It could.
It certainly feels like it could. And then it has me questioning, okay, oh my God, are we going to get like a Joker origin?
I don't know, man.
Like a BTAS version, like a film noir version of a Joker origin. I mean, there's just so many incredible possibilities for this show that I'm just excited about. I'm just thrilled that we're getting it, because if you would have told me 10 years ago that we were going to get like another round of Batman the Animated Series, I'd have been like, nah, they're not going to touch that. It's a
dude. And I love the post. We got the poster's really old now. We got it last year, but how it's very much, again, that Bob Kane Batman design, that golden age Batman with the exaggerated like ears and stuff like that.
Even to where they have that kind of slight pitch,
they flare out a little bit. Yep.
Yeah. Oh man, it looks amazing.
I am totally down. But the last Batman bit, Tim, Flash.
Major Batman bit,
Flash Keaton. Although I will say though, I'm gonna lead off saying it. I was a little disappointed with this teaser. Like, it didn't, because we didn't. Well, first and foremost, we were all like, they're gonna show us like a full shot of Keaton. Yeah. You're gonna show us him, at least a still of him in the Batsuit or something. Yeah. We just got the back of his head, the cowl, which is a silhouette essentially.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main reason why I'm a little disappointed, is because I will say, Keaton was narrating it. We heard him talking to Barry. It's like, for a guy who could travel anywhere, why'd you decide to come here and save this timeline? Like, we heard him narrating it. We saw a little bit of the Batcave. They teased Barry Allen, unveiling the Burton Batmobile at the end. They didn't show it, but you see it under like the tarp.
Right.
But we didn't see Keaton in the back. I feel like that would have broken. That was your opportunity to like just take it that much further, to be like, this is what everyone's been waiting for since, Keaton stopped wearing the suit in Batman Returns, which was like almost 30 years ago.
Right.
So here you go, everyone. Keaton's back in the bat suit, but they didn't show it to us.
Yeah, I pretty much have to agree with you. That was the trailer overall. While it was really cool and it had me going like, I'm in for this, I was disappointed that they did not do more to provoke the audience.
Yes, like little like, hey, look at this.
Especially
look what we're doing.
Because Black Adam was super cool. Was a very cool teaser, although that didn't give us as much as I thought it was going to give us either. But we'll get into that in the next one. And then you knew you had the Batman coming, right? So I
wonder if they didn't want to
shocking.
take away from the Batman.
Maybe,
because they knew.
But at the same time, the Flash isn't that far off either.
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong. There's got to be an element to that. They didn't want the Flash to steal the show and from Batman and take too much off that, because the Flash there's going to be a buffer between when we get the Batman and when the Flash drops. So they're going to have plenty of time to do those things. I know that a lot of people like us were waiting for that moment where it was like the first visual of Keaton Batman.
Yes, like him just turning around, or Barry looking up at him, like, or something.
And a little bit more footage, too, of the film itself. So when it's let off with Ezra Miller, I really thought that and he started saying, right off the bat, like, hey, we're still shooting. I thought it was going to be one of those Comic-Con teases.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Where they go, well, we're still shooting, but should we show them something? That cheesy lead in. And no, they were serious.
It is DC Fandome. They brought us something, but
So yeah, it was a little bit underwhelming. But I thought, and this is what I thought was going to salvage it, because we go through the whole trailer and we see the back of the cowl, which was cool.
Yeah, it was right. It was
especially
cool.
You should see the bat cave with the water
silhouette. It was cool. Yeah,
it was cool. But then a thing I thought was going to save it was right there at the end with the Batmobile and him pulling the tarp off. I thought they were going to show it. To have a brief glimpse of the Keaton Batmobile, and I thought that was going to be the thing that everybody went, there it is, you know, and it didn't happen.
But the holy, and it cuts off. I thought that was pretty funny.
It was funny. It was funny. But it was, I really, and you know, again, this is probably just selfish fan talking. You know, I just really thought they were going to show us something a little bit more just as that real hype moment. And it was kind of there, but not fully.
There's tons of footage that's leaked online where we've seen Ben Affleck Batman on the motorcycle doing stunts and stuff like that. So we know they've already filmed a lot of Affleck's parts and all that stuff. So we didn't even get a glimpse of that. I will say, though, there is two things that I'm like, that's curious. So you see the cowl that's like bloody on the floor. Yes. That clearly looks like to be Affleck's cowl. So one of my theories is I think they're going to kill him off in this movie. I think that's what's going to happen.
Remember I said that's what I want. I want him to sacrifice himself.
Because Andy Muschietti, director of the film, said that he is the backbone and heart of this film. What is more heartful or like being an emotional... he says emotional backbone, sorry. What is more emotional than sacrificing yourself in some way?
Right.
You know what I mean? For the timeline.
To allow for the Flash to maybe...
Yes, and then it just makes sense as like this is the end of the Snyderverse. Affleck, you know, Affleck's probably done with Batman. So it makes sense for... That's probably how they pitch it. It's like, look... This is your farewell. This is really cool. We're bringing Keaton in. You get to have some time with him. This is the perfect way to transition over to our new Batman or whatever else we're doing. So I feel like they're gonna kill him off, especially with that tease with the bloody cowl. It's like, why did you show us that cowl on the floor with like blood and like I don't know. That's curious. But that, and then also one of the last shots where you see Supergirl and the two Barrys asking Keaton Batman, "Are you in?" Right?
Yeah.
It's super quick in the trailer, but you see the second Barry behind him wearing some kind of Flash costume, right?
Right.
Now, you know me. There's certain things I have to screen cap. I
right.
have to zoom in. I'm like, what is that? Because initially I'm like, oh, that's Earth 2 Barry Allen or like Jay Garrick, like this version of Jay Garrick, because the way it looks.
Right.
When you zoom in on it, it's actually a Keaton Batman suit that's spray painted with the Flash symbol on it.
That's the one we saw.
That's the one that he freaking tweeted or Instagram, the director Instagram, a few months ago. So he's wearing a Keaton Bat suit. And they showed in the trailer earlier, too, where you see a stencil of Barry spray painting a lightning bolt on a boot. So for some reason, this second Barry has converted a Keaton Bat suit into a Flash suit. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
That's the question.
Right?
What is going on?
So the theory with that is, too, it's like, why is there also two Barrys in here? Which I'm thinking, and I know I can't be the only one, that maybe this second Barry is this universe's Reverse Flash.
That's what your take?
That was I think that I don't know, because there's lots of other things, but I feel like there's been no villain talk. Not one hint of who's the villain, nothing. Not at all. But they're showing us a second Barry.
That's interesting.
So it's totally plausible for because we know Eobard Thawne in the comics does.
But he seems to be working with Barry.
Yes, but that would be the twist. Where we know in the comics, like Eobard Thawne has done a lot of stuff over the years. He's a big fan of Barry. I don't feel like it's too far-fetched especially since they're not going to pull directly from the comics for them to be like, hey, in this universe, our freaking Reverse Flash is an evil Barry Allen or an Eobard Thawne who likes Barry so, because we know in the comics he's such a fan of Barry Allen.
Right.
Likes him so much in his future, he got plastic surgery to look like Barry. Because that would add, I know this may seem a little far-fetched, but that would add to the psychology of like, oh, he's like a stalker obsession, because that's what it is in the comics.
Yeah.
That's how the rivalry begins, where he likes him so much. So I'm like, it's possible. I'm not saying it's right, but I feel like that is an angle.
Yeah.
That's a theory.
That's possible.
So I don't know. Yeah. I just went down the wormhole with that because I'm like, this is too weird. And why is there two Barrys? Why are you spray painting a Keaton Flash suit? What's happening? Obviously, there's a plethora of other explanations that, ways it can go. That's one of the theories I have.
I mean, that's definitely an interesting theory. I didn't think of that at all. I took it as multiverse.
It could very well be,
because obviously he's in another, world, and this might just be the Flash of that world. Where maybe Batman just gave him one of his suits, something to that effect. That's kind of just that was the thought that came to my mind. especially because there's also a good portion of the trailer itself is talking about time. You know, where he's like, you can go anywhere, you can do anything, that sort of thing. And, you know, that they're obviously setting up for the multiverse and them somehow correcting, fixing, or setting us on whatever the new course is going to be and adjusting who Aquaman is, who Wonder Woman is, you know, Batfleck. You know, what's going to happen with him and how does that ultimately play into everything? What you said, you know, Muschietti said about Ben Affleck's Batman.
The emotional backbone.
Being the backbone of the film. That's such an interesting comment because you would not expect that at all.
I'm just trying to think like in get in the writer's brain, right, of the twist and stuff of comic books, because we know that Keaton, the Keaton Batman in this universe, he's asking Barry in the narration, why did you choose this timeline? As you see Barry go to his mom right before she died, right? So you could also think, okay, so that second Barry is the Barry from the past where his mother was still alive. But I'm like, how much of a twist would it be if it's like by the end of the film, that second Barry is like, I'm not actually Barry. I killed this world's Barry. I'm Eobard Thawne. You just thought I was that Barry. Like how crazy that would be. Because everyone would be like, what?
Yeah,
like
that
I'm
would
trying
be
to get in that
twist.
like. What would shock the fans and be like, oh, God, that's a twist.
And if that is the twist, somewhere right now, the writers and the people are like, thanks, Arris. We almost had everyone. You just spoiled it. That would certainly be an interesting twist. Because we have been curious for a long time is who's the villain for this film. So that would make sense. We've been saying the Reverse Flash, but where does he come in? How does that play into this whole story?
And then there's the whole thing, because that's the thing with timelines, though, too, because then when you even think about that further, you're like, well, if you killed that Barry, then if you're killing Barry in the past, how does this Barry exist? But I'm like, that's the thing with like timelines. I don't know. Every movie and franchise, like Avengers Endgame, Back to the Future, they always explain time travel differently. So we don't know how, they're going to explain it in this universe. What does that mean? We don't, it's not real, right? I know there's a lot of scientists who believe it is, but we don't know how it works yet if it is real, right? Go out there and say it could be real, but we don't know. So it's fiction. You could do whatever you want. So I'm curious to see what their rules for time travel are in this DCEU.
Yeah. And for technical, it is still theoretical physics, but it is a theory.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more plausible.
Yeah. That's weird in itself.
That was a very nerdy little side.
I watch Big Bang Theory. Wow.
I think that this is kind of why I wanted to see more, because these questions are just kind of like lingering. And from, if you're the creator of this, if you're the writers, you're the filmmakers and stuff like that, that's what you want. So good job. I do love that they had Keaton Batman narrate the teaser.
It's always good hearing Keaton.
Yeah. So that was, I thought, a lot of fun. It shows that he's going to play a significant role in the film, which is exactly what we want. For sure. Exactly what we were hoping for. I do think that it gave us an interesting look at the tone and the way that the film is going to present itself. I think so far it looks like we're going to get more of a Zack Snyder version of the Flash than the Joss Whedon version of the Flash. He's not going to be as jokey, which is good. There's going to be some comedy. It's Ezra Miller, so that's kind of his personality. He's going to bring that, but it does seem like there's going to be more of a serious undertone, which I assume a lot of that is going to be carried by what happens with Batman, Ben Affleck Batman, Michael Keaton Batman, and so on.
Yeah.
And then the undergirding story. I'm curious to see. They really gave us nothing about how Supergirl comes into the mix.
They just show her in the last shot.
There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen in this movie that we have no clue at. We just see little hints at things. One of the things that I think you even mentioned was his suit. How the Speed Force flows through the suit. And
really cool.
Looks really cool. But I'm kind of also like, where does he get the suit? Does it come from Batman? Is that the one that he designed?
They show the Flash ring too, so we know it's going to be like comics where the suit comes out of the ring.
Yeah,
which is cool.
So it's like, did that come from Batman, and how is that going to ultimately play? Does he go back in time?
That's right.
In this film, because we know that was a Batman vs Superman, Batman v Superman, where he presents himself to Bruce Wayne.
That's like
am I early? Am I late? Or whatever.
That's the whole nightmare stuff. Though.
Yeah, the nightmare sequence. Yeah. So it's just like, is that going to be a part of this? And they're going to kind of close that loop?
The Snyder stuff is curious. But what do you think of the costume? Like, because I know you and a good amount of people out there, it was very 50-50 with the Snyderverse costume, which I was on the side where I liked it. I kind of like the armor plating and stuff like that. And after seeing this new one, I feel like I like the costume more with this, with the lightning going through it. It's very New 52, even kind of Flash Rebirth, like current Flash, where when he runs, you see all the lightning streaks on it. But that cowl, man, that cowl does not fit form-fitting to his face, especially seen side by side for the first cowl from Justice League, and now this. I'm like, what? It looks kind of wonky. It almost looks, for anyone who's grew up, remember Bible Man? Like, I know there's people who know like Bible Man.
Wow, you talk about a deep cut.
Yeah, like I know there's people out there. It's like, I remember Bible Man. It kind of looks like that, where it's just, it looks like a helmet and bobblehead ish. Where now, given it's only the one still, we haven't really seen a lot of it, or because even that shot we see of him, we see it in the opening where he's running to the front of the house, which I assume is his house before he's gonna go meet his mother or the time of her death, and then the shot where he's like in the cave and you see it from far, but that looks like it was CG. It wasn't a practical one, which I'm sure they're gonna do. They're gonna have practical costumes, and then they're gonna have instances where it's CG. But I'm very curious to see how the cowl fits, because the suit is very form fitting. It almost looks painted on for all But that cowl is the one thing that's kind of throwing me off. But we'll see as we get more promo shots and an actual trailer, not just this like minute tease.
Yeah, it was definitely, this was a teaser.
Yeah.
For me, I think the suit looks cool. It was not what I was expecting.
It wasn't.
But it's still, I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
The cowl, definitely, I would agree. There's something off about it. But again, we haven't seen much of it. I fell on the side of, I did not like the Snyderverse Flash suit.
Yeah.
I did not like it. You already kind of hinted at that. I thought it was just too, I get why he looked that way. He didn't have any money. He was kind of just off by himself, and he just had to use whatever he had available to him. So it was this kind of patchwork suit.
Right.
So I totally get why they did it that way, but it just looked really wonky in the movies that he appeared in. Because especially when combined with his run.
I'm curious to see if that changes in here too. That's another thing I want to see.
That's what I want to see, where it looked like he was like trying to throw things while he ran.
And I do like the yellow lightning way more than the blue lightning we got in Justice League.
Definitely. That was a big, I was very happy to see that change.
I mean, it's the equivalent of like when you think of Joker, what do you think? You think green and purple. When you think of Deathstroke, you think blue and orange. When you think of the Flash, yellow and red. Right. Like, so lightning it's yellow, right? That's the Flash. So it was really weird. That was one of the things that threw me off, that it was blue. But I guess they were toying with, depending on how fast you run in the color spectrum, would determine the color of the energy or the speed force that's running off you. So I don't know. Either way, without the science stuff involved, I'm just glad it's yellow like the comic books. Okay,
I completely agree. And I would just say about the overall suit and look, I think that this is a massive upgrade, no matter how you slice it.
He's got the yellow boots too. Yeah. He's got the iconic yellow boots.
He's got the iconic yellow boots, just like, they just announced the CW Flash.
He's also Flash has got yellow boots all around.
Everybody's getting yellow boots. So it's definitely it's a vast upgrade. It's much closer to versions of the Flash we've seen in comics. It's definitely not the same, but it's closer to. So overall, I was good with it.
Yeah, I just want to see more. I think my overall consensus
I think everybody
here
does. Yeah,
is I wanted more Keaton, and I just want a little more. I want to see Flash run. I just want a little bit of more. It was a tease. I get it. That's the point of it. But man, I at least wanted a Keaton shot.
In retrospect, I totally get why they did not show us a front shot of Keaton Batman. I get why they didn't do that. They'll hold that off to make a much bigger splash later as we get closer to the film, or even save it for the film itself.
There's no way you're going to see it in the trailer.
That would be my anticipation as well, but I could see the argument to be made there if they did. But that's why I say I really thought it was going to be the Batmobile. I thought that was going to be the moment.
Everyone's
right
at the
end. Yeah, we all know it's going to be there. Just to and show the tarp, and just for even just like a half second, you see the actual Batmobile, not just the tarp sliding off, but you see the actual Batmobile. To where people could freeze frame it and be like, it's the Batmobile,
It's crazy.
And I was a little surprised at that. So yeah, just like you, I'm hoping to see more, but it'll
even
come
Affleck, I want to. There's just so much is happening in this film. You got the Flash, Tim Burton. You got the Flash. You got Affleck Batman and Keaton Batman. And I just want all three of them in one shot together. I want to see both Batman look at each other with Barry in the middle, like confused, like Batman, like.
And we don't know if Pattinson is going to appear.
Man, that's my thing. Like because if you do kill off Batfleck, Keaton's too old to be like a main Batman. He could be a mentor for sure, but he's not going to be out in the streets in Gotham all the time. So where are you going with this? Are you literally going to just tee up Terry McGinnis? You going to give us that Batman Beyond?
Man.
You going to do that?
We could see a couple things happen. We could see them tee up Terry McGinnis, and we could see a older Pattinson arrive toward the end of the film. Where it's,
I don't think that. For some reason, I feel like Matt Reeves very much wants to do his own thing. I don't think he's going to tie into this.
Maybe so, but I mean, if you have these other films going on, and you've got the Flash running around, and you've got these things going on, you've got to have Batman in there somewhere. And they're not introducing another; they're just introducing Pattinson, Batman. So they're not going to do that. So it has to interconnect somehow. I would say at some point in time.
Could you imagine at the end of the Batman, freaking you got Alfred and Bruce in the cave, and you just see like a flash, and you see Barry show up, be like, where am I? And it's like, it just ends with like, now he's in another timeline.
They can do literally anything like that. That's why I'm wondering.
He's like, another one, and it just cuts. Like, could you imagine?
That would be funny. That would be funny. Either way, I will say it left me across the board when it comes to Batman, and you know, we haven't even touched on some of the other smaller. These are just the big pieces that we saw from fandom regarding Batman in the upcoming DC rollout. It left me as excited or more excited for some of the content we have coming.
Yeah, I think with DC and definitely Batman, there is no shortage of content for the next few years. And this is just the live actions. Well, animated, but this is just like, you know, on the, I guess the film front, you could say, or the moving pictures front. There's a lot of stuff with the moving pictures. So I'm trying to like, you know, do an amalgamation of like the animation, but we also got live action. I don't know, pictures that move. Right?
It's gonna be a lot of fun over the next year with Batman between the rollout of the Batman, Cape Crusader, and the Flash. We're gonna get some amazing Batman content,
and then even Gotham Knights, which we haven't talked about yet.
But and we'll save that for the next episode, which you guys will see tomorrow.
So with that said, Tim, I think that brings today's podcast to a close.
Yep, this wraps up part 1 of our fandom, our fandom conversation and reactions to everything we saw at fandom. So tomorrow, you guys will see the rest. And we'll cover everything from Shazam to Black Adam and on
Aquaman,
and on and on.
yada, yada, yada. But we'll see you guys next time when we talk about all things comics.